My name is Marcus Hale, and at the time I was just a maintenance technician aboard the United Earth Coalition's diplomatic station orbiting the planet Illyra. Humanity had only recently joined the Galactic Assembly, and every species in the galaxy was watching closely to see whether we were civilized enough to sit at the same table as ancient alien empires, which meant everything had to go perfectly. Of course, that's when I walked into the wrong corridor at the wrong time. The station was hosting the most important diplomatic gathering in centuries. Representatives from 12 civilizations had arrived, including the ruling family of the Kaerathi Empire, an ancient and powerful species that had dominated half the known galaxy for thousands of years. And their heir, Princess Laraxa. I didn't know any of that when I rounded the corner carrying a crate of diagnostic tools. The corridor ahead was enormous, with tall crystal windows revealing the brilliant blue surface of Illyra below. Alien banners hung along the walls, each representing a different civilization. And standing in the center of that corridor was a group of Kaerathi guards. They were enormous, 8 feet tall, armored in dark metal plates that seemed to grow organically from their bodies. Their eyes glowed amber beneath narrow helmets, which meant one thing: royalty was nearby. I slowed down instantly. Station protocol said civilians weren't supposed to be anywhere near high-level diplomatic meetings. I was about to quietly turn around when someone stepped through the massive doorway behind the guards. And suddenly, everything made sense. Princess Laraxa of the Kaerathi Empire walked into the corridor like gravity itself had shifted to follow her. She was tall, easily 6.5 feet, with smooth silver-blue skin that shimmered faintly in the station's artificial lighting. Her long black hair flowed down her back, woven with thin strands of glowing crystal. Her eyes were bright gold, sharp, intelligent, and very clearly not used to being ignored. The guards stepped aside immediately, and, unfortunately, that's when my boot caught on the edge of a maintenance cable someone had left on the floor. I tripped. Hard. The crate flew out of my hands. Tools scattered across the floor. And in a desperate attempt to stop myself from falling face first into the polished metal floor, I grabbed the nearest thing I could reach. Unfortunately, the nearest thing was the princess. More specifically, her backside. Time stopped. My brain shut down. And every Kaerathi guard in the corridor drew their weapons in perfect synchronization. I froze in absolute horror. My hand was still there. The princess slowly turned her head. Her golden eyes locked onto mine. The silence was so complete I could hear my own heartbeat. Then she spoke.
Her voice was calm,
cold, and very, very dangerous. "Human," she said slowly, "how dare you touch me?" I immediately pulled my hand away like I'd grabbed a plasma reactor. Words failed me. My brain was busy imagining the various creative ways alien empires might execute people. I tripped. I managed weakly. The guards surrounded me instantly. Massive energy blades hummed to life around my neck. One of them spoke in a deep, mechanical voice. "Your life ends now, human." "Wait," I shouted. The princess raised one elegant hand. Every guard froze mid-motion. Her eyes never left my face. "You claim this was an accident?" "Yes," I said quickly. 100% accidental. She stepped closer. Close enough that I could see the faint patterns glowing beneath her skin. "You expect me to believe that you tripped, and your hand landed precisely on the most dishonorable place you could possibly touch a Kaerathi royal." I blinked. Dishonorable. The guard beside me leaned closer. "For a Kaerathi noble," he said, "touching the royal lower form without permission is considered a declaration of challenge." A challenge? Yes. I swallowed. A challenge for what? The guard looked at me like I just asked why stars exist. For dominance. My soul left my body. Princess Laraxa studied me carefully. You are either extremely brave, she said, or incredibly foolish. Definitely the second one, I admitted. One of the guards growled. Princess, allow us to eliminate the offender. But Laraxa didn't look away from me. You are human. Yes. Your species is new to the assembly. Yes. And yet, you dared to challenge a Kaerathi princess. I swear I didn't mean to challenge anyone, I said quickly. I was carrying tools. I tripped. Gravity happened. She tilted her head slightly. Gravity. Yes. There was a long pause. Then something surprising happened. The princess laughed. Not a polite diplomatic laugh. A real one. The guards looked shocked. I have studied humans, she said, still smiling faintly. Your species possesses many strange qualities. Like clumsiness? Among other things. She turned to the guards. Stand down. They hesitated. Princess. That is an order. The weapons powered down immediately. I nearly collapsed from relief. But then the princess turned back to me. You touched me, she said. Yes. In Kaerathi tradition, a challenge cannot simply be ignored. My relief vanished instantly. So, what happens now? Her golden eyes gleamed with amusement. You must prove yourself. Prove what? That you are worthy of making such a challenge. I blinked. I wasn't trying to prove anything. That no longer matters. The guards stepped aside. The princess gestured down the corridor. You will accompany me. To where? She smiled slightly. To the royal training arena. 30 minutes later, I stood in the middle of the Kaerathi combat chamber, which was a very bad place for a human maintenance worker. The arena was massive, circular, surrounded by raised platforms where Kaerathi nobles watched with quiet curiosity. Apparently word had spread quickly. The human who had accidentally challenged the princess had become today's entertainment.
Great.
Princess Laraxa stood across from me. She wore a simple combat uniform now instead of her royal robes, which somehow made her look even more intimidating. You may choose a weapon, she said. A rack of alien blades and energy staffs appeared from the floor.
I stared at them.
I've never used any of these. Then choose none. You're serious? Yes. I raised my hands. I'm a mechanic. You are also a challenger. I sighed. This is how I die. She tilted her head. Possibly. Then she stepped forward. Begin. What happened next surprised everyone, including me, because humans have one very useful trait that most advanced alien species don't fully understand. Adaptability. Princess Laraxa attacked first.
Fast.
Incredibly fast. Her movements were graceful and precise, like a dancer trained for war. I barely avoided the first strike, then the second, and the third. The audience murmured. I wasn't fighting like a trained warrior. I was fighting like a terrified human trying not to die, which meant I moved unpredictably. I ducked, rolled, tripped, recovered. At one point, I accidentally threw a toolbox wrench that had been stuck in my belt. It bounced off the arena wall and nearly hit her. She stopped mid-attack. You fight strangely. I fight like someone who values breathing. She circled me slowly. You do not fear looking foolish. Looking foolish is better than being dead. The nobles laughed. And for the first time, the princess looked impressed. After another minute, she stepped back. The fight stopped. You are not a warrior, she said. Nope. But you survived. Barely. She studied me carefully. Your species is interesting. That's what everyone keeps saying. The arena doors opened. The nobles began to leave. But Princess Laraxa walked toward me instead. You embarrass me today, she said. I'm really sorry about that. But you also entertained my court. That was not the goal. She smiled slightly. I know. Then she leaned closer. And you did not run. I couldn't. The guards had swords. Still. She extended one hand. In Kaerathi culture, challenges that end in mutual respect become alliances. I blinked. You're offering an alliance? Yes. With a maintenance guy? She shrugged slightly. Humans are unpredictable. I shook her hand. Her grip was warm and strong. Marcus Hale, I said. Laraxa. We stood there for a moment. Then she added quietly. And next time you wish to challenge a princess. I winced. Try not to grab her first. I laughed nervously. No promises. 6 months later, the story of the human who accidentally challenged a Kaerathi princess had spread across the Galactic Assembly. Diplomats loved telling it. Historians recorded it. And Princess Laraxa visited the human station often. Sometimes for political meetings. Sometimes for something else. One evening we stood together by the observation deck. Earth's blue oceans glowed in the distance. You know, she said thoughtfully, in Kaerathi history, alliances usually begin with wars. And ours started with me falling on my face. She nodded. Human diplomacy is unusual. That's one way to describe it. She looked at me with those golden eyes. Your species may change the galaxy. Hopefully in a good way. She smiled. Then she added quietly. And next time you touch me, I froze. Try not to make it look like an accident. For a moment my brain completely stopped working. Then I realized something. Maybe the worst diplomatic incident in human history had actually become the best first contact story the galaxy had ever heard. And it all started because I tripped.